good news for landlords, there are loads of letting agents for you to choose from. But how do you know which is a good letting agent and which is a bad letting agent? Before I get into this, over on my YouTube channel, I have gone through 23 things to identify a good letting agent versus a bad letting agent. But today I'm going to give you 3 big ones. Number 1, knowledge. Now, yes, of course, you want your letting agent to know exactly how to find the right tenant for you, the right tenant for your property, the tenant that's going to pay the rent month in, month out, look after the property properly, and genuinely be a good tenant. But you also want your letting agent to know inside and out all of the different pieces of legislation, all of the regulations, all of the rules that you need to follow, all of the good practices, all of the processes, and everything you need to be a fully compliant, protected, profitable landlord. I think that is the absolute minimum of a letting agent, and a really good way to identify knowledge is to ask them. Ask them one simple thing. For an example, just ask them how many different pieces of legislation are there that landlords have to know. Here's a hint, it's 170. So if your letting agent doesn't know the answer to that, then they've not really looked into it. And that worries me, because there are a lot of letting agents out there that don't know the basics of lettings and lettings management. Number 2 is communication. Of course, you want your letting agent to update you on everything that happens with your property in real time, constantly. I think it's a key thing for landlords to know what's going on with their properties, because it puts us at ease. I've got a portfolio myself, and I always want to know what's going on. Now, I don't necessarily need to get involved in what's going on, but I just want updates. I just want to be told this is what's happening, this is what's happening next. So that is an absolute minimum, in my opinion, for all letting agents. But I also want to be able to get hold of my letting agent whenever I want. And it is a big problem for letting agents, because there are so many tenants, there are so many landlords, so many people that want to book viewings, and people that make inquiries about properties, and tenants that make inquiries, and contractors that call in. There is a lot of people to speak to a lot of the time. But that's not the individual landlord's problem. That landlord expects to be able to call their letting agent and speak to somebody. And yes, a good landlord will understand if that person they normally speak to is on the phone or is having lunch. That's understandable. In that case, they expect a call back. And I don't think that's too much to ask. In fact, I think that's the absolute minimum that a letting agent should provide. And number 3, they have to be landlord focused. Now that goes in the favor of all landlords, because it's the job of the letting agent to make sure that the landlord's property, the tenancy, the rent, and the tenants are profitable, reliable, easy, simple, and safe. That is a minimum. But they also have to make sure that they're looking after the tenant as best they can, because by looking after the tenant, you are looking after the landlord. You're keeping the tenant comfortable and secure, compliant, safe and happy in that property, which means they're more likely to prioritize their rent. It means they're more likely to look after the property. So the letting agent has to be landlord focused. So it goes without saying, if you're a landlord and you're listening to this and you think, yes, I want those things, I want that in a letting agent, then please give me a call, or you can email me. It's tom@soanegroup.co.uk, and my lettings team will jump on it. They will be the lettings team you want. They will look after absolutely everything for you, and you can just sit back and relax knowing that your property is in safe hands. But if you don't want to use my lettings team, maybe you don't like me, maybe you don't like my surname, maybe you don't like where my letting agency is based, which is down on the south coast, fine. But choose a letting agent and look for the good letting agents. Don't settle for a bad letting agent, and do not, I repeat, do not look for cheap. If you look for cheap, you will find cheap.